Welcome into Pac-12, preview slash review. I am Michael Caratino. Yes, here on the Sideline Sports Network. I hope everybody had a wonderful Hanukkah, wonderful Christmas, Kwanzaa, Festivus for the rest of us. Whatever you may have celebrated this holiday season, I hope it was wonderful so far as we head into the new year. Yes, I was off Monday. Spending some time with the family for the holidays. So it was very nice, very nice. And yes, I am Michael Caratino at Diablo00. As you can see, you can hit me up on Twitter. Again, not a bad thing to hit me up on Twitter. Any questions, thoughts? Totally crazy bowl season so far, fun bowl season as we get close to obviously the college football playoff. And as like I said, yeah, we get close to the college football playoff. No Pac-12 teams in it. Yes, I'm done being bitter about that. You know how I feel. But that being said, the Fiesta Bowl right here in my backyard will feature Michigan and TCU, number 2 Michigan, number 3 TCU. And I think that'll be an interesting game. Look, Michigan, we know their physicality. TCU, what Max Duggan has done, the way that young man can put the ball up through the air and all that good stuff. It's one of those things where when we look at Max Duggan and TCU and what Sonny Dykes has done as a head coach, look, they'll be able to. I mean, can they sustain moving the ball against Michigan? Can that defense, though, up front get off the TCU defense? Will they be able to kind of stall, to say the least, the Michigan offense? And then in the other, obviously, semifinal, Georgia, the defending national champs, taking on, yes, we backed in again, Ohio State. And look, I know I said I think Georgia would boat them. That was just kind of the annoyance in me. Georgia, I think, wins the game, but it'll be quite interesting. It'll be an interesting game, to say the least. But we're headed towards that. We're obviously headed towards Pac-12 bowl games. Well, shout out to Oregon and Washington. They both won their bowl games the last 2 days, and we shall get to that. But yeah, Washington's game, they held on to beat Texas, and then Oregon beat North Carolina by 1. Had a heck of a fourth quarter and finished with a 10-win season. So Washington finished with an 11-win season as they beat Texas 27-20. But yes, we are getting ready for the Cotton Bowl, where USC 11-2 will host, or well, not host, but USC 11-2 taking on 11-2 Tulane, featuring Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams, and in the granddaddy of them all, yes, had the pleasure of going to 3 Rose Bowls, and actually getting to hit the parade once, which the Tournament of Roses parade, which is absolutely awesome. That being said, Utah at 10-3 is taking on 10-2 Penn State. Both of those games on Monday, January 2nd. So yes, right after the new year, not New Year's Day, but on January 2nd. As like I said, the CFP semifinals are on New Year's Eve, which is tomorrow. And yes, by the way, it is December 30th, so I have to give a shout out, happy birthday shout out to my sister, my older sister. She's not old, but my older sister Lisa. So happy birthday to Lisa. Yes, all all of you that have birthdays so close to the holidays. Yes, I'm sure you can all tell great battle stories to each other. But nonetheless, happy birthday to my sister Lisa. Um, and again, bowl season. It's always great to have a birthday during bowl season. I mean, those are wonderful gifts to get to enjoy um, these games as they go forward. Just a quick reminder: Pac-12 so far, Oregon State beat Florida, destroyed them 30-3. Fresno State did beat Washington State 29-6, but then Oregon, like I said, beat North Carolina. We'll get into that 28-27. Washington beat Texas 27-20. Bowl game today, the Sun Bowl, the 9-3 Bruins will take on the 8-4 Panthers of Pittsburgh. So UCLA, and that is at 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Pacific, for you fans that want to check that out on CBS. So when we wrap up here, it'll be getting going on CBS. UCLA. Yeah, we'll talk about that game as well. I know I mentioned the other two, but yeah, so we will get to that game. But yeah, a quick look back at the Oregon North Carolina game. I mean, wow. Oh, real quick before we get to Oregon and North Carolina, the Ducks, which are right there, right here up top, as you see. Before we get to Oregon and North Carolina, we're also going to get to catch up with ASU assistant head coach, good friend, and special teams coordinator, assistant head coach, special teams coordinator, Charlie Ragle. Again, we get to sit down with talking to the coaches, and hopefully they're still trying to recruit. They're getting ready for spring ball. Going to start to get ready for spring ball. I know it hasn't even turned to the new year yet, so let's enjoy these 2 days. But coaches, they're always working. But we'll have my conversation with Charlie Ragle, which we were able to gather last week, which was again absolutely awesome over at ASU. So we will also catch up with Charlie Ragle. So a jam-packed show. But like I said, let's get to the Oregon and North Carolina bowl game, which was wow. Yes, I will say wow, because not just because it was a Pac-12 school. If you watch the game and saw what Drake May, how he was looking, Bo Nix, again, looking a little more mobile than he did when he got before he got banged up at the end, towards the end of the regular season for the Ducks. But to get that 28-27 victory, it's crazy because both teams scored. It is just insane. So it was 7-7 at the end of one between Oregon and North Carolina. Carolina put up 14 in the second, and Oregon put up 7. So it was 21-14 Carolina at the half. Both teams shut each other out in the third quarter. So 21-14 going in to the fourth quarter. The Ducks outscore the Tar Heels 14-6 and take the game, of course, by one, 28-27. Did the Ducks, but that's just really weird. Just a mirror image of scoring. They both obviously did it in the first quarter. But yeah, the mirror image of scoring, and because Carolina 7-14, Oregon 7-7, 0-0, Oregon 14, and then Carolina with the 6 in the fourth quarter. So that was the difference in the game. But yeah, Bo Nix again, 23-30. No surprise. Another efficient day. He looked really, really good. 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did throw an interception. And his 2 touchdown passes, one of them was to Chase Cota, who had 3 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown. And then Troy Franklin had 5 catches for 24 yards and the 1 touchdown. Terrence Ferguson, pardon me, led the receivers, 5 catches for 84 yards, averaging 16.8 per reception. So not bad there. But we got to talk about the man of the game, the offensive player of the game, and it was no surprise for Oregon. Bucky Irving, 13 carries, 149 yards, busting off an 11 and a half yards per touch, 2 rushing touchdowns, and one of them was a 66-yard run, which was, again, a heck of a run. But that 66-yard run was set up. And if you watched the game, which I do hope you did watch the Holiday Bowl. That's what we are talking about here. I know I mentioned it a ton before the game, but yes, the San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl. But yeah, for the Holiday Bowl, Bucky Irving on that 66-yard run, he goes to the left. It's designed to the left, and tight end came around and got a huge block, just blasted the defender. Well, the block had so much force that defender goes flying, but it takes the tight end to the next man, the next defender, who maybe could have made a tackle or had a chance to make a tackle, and he clears him out. Irving cuts back and just darts 66 yards for the touchdown. Absolutely beautiful play. And for Bucky Irving, like I said, 13 touches, 149 yards, the 2 touchdowns. He had about a 35, 40-yard run down to like the 2 or 3. And then I think first and goal, second and goal, either way, he put it in. So that was his first touchdown. But yeah, this young man, just to chew off over a first down a carry, is absolutely sick. And and then when we look at the total yardage too for Oregon, 414 total yards, 205 in the air, 209 on the ground. You talk about balance. Well, and again, they've done that all year. For those of you that have watched and listened to me talk about this team, but watched Oregon, you've seen it. I mean, they passed for a lot, but again, over 500 yards. So they were well out. What's that? 90 yards. 90 yards under their season average of 592 yards. Sorry, they were 92 yards under their season average of over 500. But still, 414 yards in a game. One will definitely take that. Oh, and don't forget the trick shot extra point that was doinked through. It was absolutely awesome. As you see the extra point, you're like, no way, because it's tied at 27, right? And it's tied at 27, and as the kick goes up, you're like, oh, it's there, and then all of a sudden, it just starts to hook to the far goal, to the far post. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. They're going to come all the way back, and it's going to be tied. And that was but it hits the post. And Camden Lewis, who had missed a field goal earlier in the game, was 4 for 4 on extra points. But Camden Lewis, they say the famous doink. Well, it hit the post, and then it goes back towards the middle. But as it's going, it doesn't go straight across; it goes through. So that is how the extra point was made. But there was still some time on the clock for North Carolina, so it's 28-27. By the way, I mentioned Bucky Irving, what he did in rushing. It was no surprise, and granted, it is special teams, but that he got the offensive player of the game because he also had 4 kickoff returns for 106 yards, averaging 26 and a half per return. 37 was his long. So, yeah, this young man, Bucky Irving, who is a sophomore. So, yes, nation, and yes, Pac-12, get ready to see this young man destroying backfields next season as well. He'll be back. But yeah, what a game by Bucky Irving. For North Carolina, though, Drake May, this young man I've talked about for the Heisman for a good portion of the season, and just yeah, the ACC championship game again, that was very tough for him. Clemson, well, he doesn't play defense, obviously. Clemson took advantage and beat up on North Carolina, but Drake May, 18 to 35, 206 yards, did throw 3 touchdowns, and but yeah, just again, not huge accuracy or completion percentage wise, not big there. Oregon's defense, and you saw that throughout the game. I mean, in the third quarter, yes, as I said, both teams were scoreless. Definitely sticks out. But even in the first quarter, uh, for Oregon, even in the first half when Carolina had that lead, but Oregon stayed close. And Drake May, like I said, 18 to 35, 206, 3 touchdowns, no picks. And his 3 touchdowns, Kobe Paysor had 7 catches for 98 yards and the touchdown. Bryson Nesbitt, 3 for 37 and a touchdown. And then Andre Green Jr., 3 for 26 and the 1 touchdown as well. Rushing wise, Elijah Green had 17 carries for 50 yards, so 2.9 a carry for him. Drake May did have 12 carries for 45 yards, averaging 3.8 per carry, but 116 yards is what North Carolina rushed for. So, and yeah, they did put the ball up throughout the season, but they were able to run the ball a little bit better than that. We talked about that in the preview throughout the season. So, but we knew Drake May again that wanted to spray the ball all over the field with this young man, and we know he's more than capable of doing it. When you talk about NFL ready quarterbacks and this freshman, I mean, only a freshman, but and I'm not saying he is Trevor Lawrence, so work with me on this. I'm not saying he is Trevor Lawrence, but for Drake May to have a freshman season like that, yes, for Trevor Lawrence, of course, it ended in a national title run. What's up, Will? Will Vogel, yes, Bucky Irving is very impressive, and I'm with you on liking Bo Nix again. Getting out of Auburn, yes, he was a legacy there. I thought it was a terrible um, pickup by Dan, or a terrible transfer portal uh, player for Dan Lanning in Oregon. But hey, I'm all okay to say I was proven wrong, and I was. So you're right, Will, about that. As Bucky Irving, like I said, just so impressive, so quick, and yes, you get the blocking, but the cutbacks and how Bo Nix just sprayed it through the air and all that good stuff. It's one of those things where, man, um, I can't say enough about offensively what they did. And well, I mean, with Kenny Dillingham, who is now the offensive coordinator, who was the offensive coordinator at Oregon. Now, as we know, you saw here on Pac-12 preview, the head coach at Arizona State, and the alum, the energy he has, what he's done, but just what the offense was able to do, and still looked pretty good. So yes, they were Bucky Irving, Bo Nix. Yeah, it is very, very impressive. So we'll see what that does for Oregon boosting. But again, you have a 10-win season, absolutely huge, and you go from there. So next year for them in the Pac-12, it should be very, very interesting. But yeah, when we look at, like I said, North Carolina and only rushing for 116 yards, and that was it. And defensively, North Carolina had 1 sack, 4 tackles for losses. Oregon also had 4 tackles for losses, but doubled them in the sack department. They had 2. And I said North Carolina before the game really didn't get to the quarterback as a ton. They both had the same amount of sacks. That's right. They both had the same amount of sacks coming in. And for the Ducks, again, to get there twice, had 6 passes defended, and yeah, no interceptions. And the 1 interception by North Carolina, Power Eccles picked off Bo Nix. But Yeah, it's just overall it was a great game. I mean, a phenomenal matchup. And I said that throughout the years. The Holiday Bowl has had some insane matchups. Yes, not every single one. Some of them have been high scoring, but never really on the, I mean, one or two on the blowout end that I recall, but it it just is always a crazy, crazy game. Uh, that bowl game in and of itself. And people say, "Oh, you say that about a lot of bowls." No, not true. Not a lot of bowls, but the Holiday Bowl just seems to have that magic, which I am a big fan of, and I hope you are too. But Oregon, like I say, gets the 28-27 victory over the North Carolina Tar Heels. So the Pac-12, by the way, record-wise now is 3-1. They are 3-1. Pardon me. They are 3-1 in the bowl season. Oregon State, Oregon, Washington with the wins. Washington State with the loss so far to Fresno State. And yeah, but we're going to get to that Washington game. Transition to the Huskies. Man, last night in the Alamo Bowl. Whoo, you talk about Washington looking like they're going to run away with the game. And then Texas coming back. And Quinn Ewers, a young man I talked about, got hurt during the season. Had to miss a few games, but this transfer from Ohio State was the number one quarterback in the country in his recruiting class coming out. Started at Ohio State, and then he was from Texas, transferred back to Texas to play for the Longhorns. And man, I can't say enough about the season that he was able to put together. Washington, the Huskies do hold on for the 27-20 victory. They were up 13-3 at half, thought they might run away with it. And then at the end of three, it was 20-10. And then Texas outscored Washington in the fourth, 10-7. But with, again, having the 20-10 lead, having a 10-point lead, they win by 7. So 27-20 is the final there. Eerily, again, Oregon wins 28-27. Washington, number 12 in the country, taking on number 20 in the country in Texas, and they win 27-20. But yeah, for Texas, real quick, Quinn Ewers, I mean, 31 of 47, 369 yards, and one touchdown. All those yards. And again, you can chunk up yards. You hear coaches and even quarterbacks, players talk about it all the time. Like, yeah, chunk up yards, but if you're not getting in the end zone, it is tough. They also, so yeah, he threw for 369, one touchdown, no picks, and it was 31 of 47. They only ran the ball 18 times though, so 47 pass plays, and that's been their offense. And to be fair, Bijan Robinson didn't play in the game. He opted out. The young man's going pro. I think he's a top running back. If you look at draft rankings, the top running back in this class, and Bijan Robinson. I mean, the young man's an absolute beast. Talked about what he did on the preview, and then I said, "Oh, by the way, he's sitting out." But it's no surprise again that he sat out. But Kylan Robinson had 8 carries for 27 yards for the Longhorns. Jonathan Brooks carries for 18 yards and a touchdown run for Mr. Brooks. Ewers also chipped in 4 carries for 6 yards. But again, 18 carries for 51 yards, only rushing for 51 yards. When you throw for 369, you're still over 400 yards. And you look at, man, Casey Kane, 4 catches for 108 yards, 27 yards per reception. Xavier Worthy had 7 for 84. And Jordan Whittington had 5 for 44. And then Jonathan Brooks, who the running back, but he also had 2 catches for 37 yards and a receiving touchdown. So 55 total yards in the game for Brooks, but still gets the touchdown. Who again, 31 receptions, 369 yards. They averaged 11.9 per reception. You see that, and you're like, wow, what a game. Well, Washington. Oh, and defensively, real quick for Texas, they had no sacks and no tackles for losses. So they got close a few times. Yes, a few penalties, but man, no tackle, no sacks, and no tackles for losses. Jaron Thompson did have an interception. He did pick off Michael Penix Jr., who was 32 of 54. Again, spraying it all over the yard. Talked about this young man all year. Transferred to Washington from Indiana. Knows Kalen DeBoer, the head coach, who was at Fresno State, but he started his career at Indiana, and DeBoer is there as his offensive coordinator. But Michael Penix Jr., again, 32 of 54, 287 yards. So a little low, actually. I mean, 287, you're thinking that's a lot. And it is a lot, but for 54 passes, but 32 completions, 2 touchdowns, like I said, the 1 interception. And receiving wise, the usual suspects, Jalen McMillan, 8 for 58. Romo Dunze had some in 5 catches for 57 yards, average 11.4 per reception. But there was some passes that if he would have brought down one of them, if he would have brought down, actually there was 2. I was like, oh, if he brings that down, and he was close on the second one. But man, Romo Dunze, 5 for 57, 11.4. But Jalen McMillan, 8 for 58, and one of the receiving touchdowns. Taj Davis had 4 for 32, and the other receiving touchdown, Jalen Polk also had 3 catches for 45 yards. But yeah, 32 passes, 287 yards, 9 yards per reception. So obviously very good for them. Texas, on the other hand, like I said, 31 to 69, 31 receptions, 369 yards, pardon me, 11.9 per reception. So, but Texas rushed, like I said, for 51 yards. And look at this, the Huskies with 3 weeks to get ready. All year long, I said, I get it. You have Michael Penix Jr. You have these receivers led by Rome Odunze and Jalen McMillan, Jalen Polk. But if you run the ball a little bit more, it would be probably even crazier for Michael Penix Jr. and these receivers. Well, they had 28 carries for 158 yards, averaging 5.6 per carry, and the one rushing touchdown. Wayne Talapapa, talked about this young man a lot this season. When they did run the ball, he was a major part of that. 14 carries for 108 yards and 1 touchdown, 7.7 per touch for Talapapa. Richard Newton had 11 for 44. So 4 yards per carry. And Michael Penix Jr. had 3 rushes for 6 yards. They ran this trick play, and man, they were lined up in the Wildcat, and or the backup quarterback, sorry, was in the shotgun, and Penix was off to his left. And so on the snap of the ball, Penix takes a few steps back. He throws it backwards to him, and hats off to the Texas defender because they read it beautifully, and the linebacker or corner shot up, and it was as the pass was getting over to Michael Penix Jr., and it looked like he had a guy just about breaking open, and he was going to bomb it, but the pressure was there, so he just got rid of it, and it was incomplete. But yeah, trying to do a little bit of everything in a bowl game. You like to see, like I said, you add little tweaks, things you haven't done. He's shown, I shouldn't say maybe have done in practice, but haven't shown during the season. But that play didn't come to fruition. But yeah, Michael Penix Jr. and then Wayne Talapapa running the ball. And when you look at defense, you'll see had Texas no sacks and no tackles for losses. Washington, who we know, I mean, over 20 sacks on the season, almost 30, almost at the 30 mark this season. The Huskies, 2 sacks and 3 tackles for losses. Again, no interceptions. And Peyton Henry, 2 for 2 again, field goals, perfect, and 3 for 3 on extra points, special team wise. So it's But yeah, it's just to see them run the ball and like stay spread out. And yes, Michael Penix Jr. dropping back, um, 54 times to pass. That's what they're going to do. And this young man, this southpaw, this lefty who has had one hell of a season, he is able to bring the Huskies the victory. And when you look at the total yards, 420 for Texas, 445 for Washington, who is also a team that was averaging over 500 yards this season, talked about it. And it's no surprise that fourth down efficiency. I mean, this is crazy. See, third down efficiency, Washington 11 for 20, so over 50%. You like to see that. Texas 6 for 15, but both 67% on fourth down efficiency. Both teams 2 for 3, and but yeah, total yards 445 to 420. Time of possession, though, that's where Washington really, and even though Texas, again, playing from behind, was able to get a touchdown late and almost having a chance to tie it up too. Touchdown late to get within 7, but 35-46 time of possession, 35 minutes, 46 seconds for the Huskies, 24 minutes, 14 seconds for the Longhorns. So when you look at it, it's definitely a solid win for the Huskies. So yeah, Pac-12 3-1 so far. We're going to step aside real quick. And when we get back, though, I will start talking about the bowl games coming up as Oregon won. As again, today we have the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. So UCLA taking on Pittsburgh. I'll get to that. And then we will get to also the Rose Bowl. Actually, we'll see. Actually, no, we'll get to the Rose Bowl and light Rose Bowl because we'll also talk about the Rose Bowl Monday morning as well. So that is where, but we'll talk about the Rose Bowl and the Cotton Bowl when we get back here on Pac-12 preview, even though a little bit of review, but you see now we're headed to the preview part of it. And then we'll also catch up with ASU assistant head coach Charlie Ragle here on Pac-12 preview on the Sideline Sports Network. We'll be back right after these messages. Welcome back to Pac-12 preview. Got done. Yes, I know. Didn't have a show Monday, but reviewing the bowl games from the last 2 days for the Pac-12 as Oregon and North Carolina played Wednesday. Washington and Texas played last night. And now today, though, let's get right to it. UCLA, the 9-3 Bruins taking on the 8-4 Pitt Panthers as they get set to play in the Sun Bowl. And for UCLA, man, that first half of the season, well, I mean, all season long, they were good, but they, again, suffered a tough loss to Oregon. I mean, all three of their conference losses were in, or all three of their losses this season, pardon me, were in conference play this season for the Bruins. And when we look at it, the for UCLA, who again is 9-3, looking for their 10th win. Pitt 8-4, so trying to get to 9 wins. But Pitt 8-4 as they look to beat the Bruins But yeah, UCLA, I mean, did lose to Oregon. They also lost to, oh, yeah, Arizona and SC back to back. So Arizona was that upset game. Arizona went into Pasadena and beat the Bruins 34-28, as you recall. And then they had the Battle of LA and the back and forth, the shootout, but 48-45, SC able to come away with the win there over the Bruins. And so, yeah, I mean, 3 losses, um, but all within conference play. And when we look at it, I mean, Pitt being in the another ACC Pac-12 matchup, by the way, should mention that the ACC Pac-12 matchup with North Carolina and Oregon, which, yes, as we know, went the way of the Ducks. But yeah, for UCLA, um, when you look at the season they had, and yeah, not that Pitt obviously is, I mean, 8-4 had a good season, but UCLA, by the way, -9. They are the favorites. Over under at 54.5. For those of you that appreciate those numbers, again, just make it snack money, make it your coffee money, because yeah, me with spreads, we all know, is never a good thing. Uh, a good thing for that. So yeah, to me, that's one of those things where, um, but it's never one of those things where, yeah, with spreads and over unders, all that stuff, just letting you know where it is at, because um, a lot of people, again, interested in those numbers. But yes, just have a little fun with it, and we can go from there. But when we look at Pitt and being in the ACC team wise, so Pitt offensively, yards per game, Pitt 402.5 yards per game, which put them in the, let's see, they were 7th in the ACC at 402.5 yards per game. So pretty, again, chewing up yards, man, chunking up yards. They had 4,830 yards, total yards on the season, 2655 through the air, 2175 through the ground. And, but 7th in the ACC in yards per game, like I said, at 402.5. Passing wise, a little bit lower. 10th with 221.3 yards per game passing. So, like I said, 10th overall in the ACC. But rushing wise, the Panthers were 4th in the conference at 181.3 yards per game. So, trying to pushing that envelope towards 200 yards rushing, which both Florida State and Louisville over 200 yards rushing on the season in the ACC. But the Panthers there, so staying dedicated to running the ball and able to run the ball is Pitt. And rushing wise, well, and this young man, Israel Abanikata from Pitt, 1,431 yards on the season to lead the ACC on 239 attempts. So 239 carries, 1,431 yards, 6 yards per touch. His long was 80. And yes, check this, 20 rushing touchdowns for this young man, Israel Abanikata, pardon me, for Abanikata. And yeah, 20 rushing touchdowns. And I want to say, rushing wise, yep, he did lead the ACC with 20 rushing touchdowns, but 1,431 yards. And for this young man, for Pitt, who is a 5'11", 215-pound junior, and from everything I gather, he will be playing in this game, will the junior. So, man, just again, 5'11", 215 pounds from Brooklyn, New York. Yes. But Abanikata, man, just wow. So the Bruins are going to have their definitely, and defensively, the Bruins have done some good things. I mean, pressure wise, against the run. But yeah, they're going to look for this young man, Abanikata, to run the ball. And then Keaton Slovis, Pac-12 people, you remember this young man, Keaton Slovis, was at Southern Cal. He is was the 7th ranked quarterback in the ACC this year, completing 184, 315 passes, 58.4% completion percentage, a little low, but 2,397 yards, 10 touchdowns for Slovis, 9 interceptions. He did get sacked 15 times on the season. Did Slovis, who, again, the senior 6'3", 215-pounder from, yes, Scottsdale, right here in Arizona, ended up, again, going to USC, and then with Lincoln Riley coming in, and so he chose to transfer to Pitt, but yeah, Pitt is so again, not the highest in the completion percentage, but 10 touchdowns, 9 interceptions on the season for Slovis. But and then receiving wise for Pitt, Jared Wayne, 1,012 yards on the season, 5th. That is 5th in the conferences. Everybody ahead of him obviously had over 1,000 yards, but very close. I mean, A.T. Perry of Wake Forest, 1,096. Zay Flowers of Boston College, 1,077. Tyler Hudson of Louisville, 1,034. Josh Downs, North Carolina, 1,029. And then Wayne with 1,012. So, yeah, they're going to, I mean, again, they're going to see what they can do defensively. Pitt was number 1 in sacks. That's why I wanted to get to this. 44 on the season for the Panthers. So, yeah, you talk about a team that's 8-4 in 12 games. They had 44 sacks. So just a eyelash under 4 sacks a game. And yeah, they're getting after it. So the UCLA offensive line gonna have to be ready, definitely ready for that. But for UCLA and Chip Kelly, look, this year talked about it, 507.8 yards per game, number 2 in the Pac-12. Passing wise, UCLA was 6th in the Pac-12 with 261.5 yards per game. Again, still in the top half there. And then rushing wise, though, UCLA number 1 rushing at 246.3 yards per game for the Bruins. Again, that running attack, absolutely insane. Most of the season, mostly the whole season led by Zach Charbonnet. You know how I feel about this young man. Just a phenomenal running back, but 246.3 yards per game rushing. So, yes, Pitt is also going to have to deal with that, because then when we look at UCLA defensively, they were 5th in sacks on the season with 27 in the conference, and then yards allowed, the Bruins were 6th at 399.8 yards a game. So just staying teeny bit under 400 yards a game there in yards allowed. And then points allowed, though, the Bruins were 8th in the conference, giving up 28.3 points per game. And yes, the UCL or the USC game definitely bumped that up just a little bit for what the Bruins had given up on the season. But like I said, 5th in sacks, and you look at a team offensively, tops in rushing, 2nd in total yards, and then 6th in passing. So yeah, it's and Zach Charbonnet. If you haven't seen this young man play, hopefully you will check him out today on the Sun Bowl and go from there. But Zach Charbonnet on the season, this young man had 195 carries for 1,359 yards to lead the Pac-12, and that's including not playing a game against Arizona State where he was healthy, he was suited up, he was held out, and UCLA, I think, rushed for over, not I think, I know, being there, rushed for over 400 yards. But yeah, 195 carries, 1,359 yards, 7 yards per carry, and 14 rushing touchdowns on the season for Charbonnet. This young man, again, just an absolute beast. Says he's active for the game, so be interesting to see if the senior does play, but or how much they do play him. But yeah, this young man looking to have a career at the next level. So. But yeah, I like UCLA in this game. I will say that. I definitely like UCLA in this game over Pitt. I think Pitt is going to be able to run the ball a little bit and move the ball in his bowl season. So that we do know. Going to step aside real quick. And then when we get back, we will see my sit down with Charlie Ragle, ASU's assistant head coach. So of us now going. So
oh, really?
Wise, you guys literally hit the ground sprinting.
Yeah.
Your overall thoughts just from yesterday, how it went. Obviously, and I'm excited who you brought in, but just getting it done in that short of time.
Yeah, I don't think you have a choice anymore. You know, I think that's one thing that's kind of been the common theme that I've talked with everybody about today is like, you know, college football has changed, right? And it's either adapt or die.
Right.
And the portal adds just another element to this thing. Like, right. I mean, first and foremost, you come in, right? Nobody likes change, no matter what. Nobody wants change. They want to be comfortable in what they do and stay in their bubble. And when change happens, everybody becomes uncomfortable. And, you know, so I think as the coaching change happened, the players on this roster are like, oh, what's going on? You know, I didn't sign up for this, da-da-da-da. So you got to come in here and recruit your roster first. Right. Assess what you've got, recruit the players that are on this team to stay. Excuse me. And then you got to go out and recruit players like normal. Right. It's double duty with the same amount of time. You got to do twice as much work in the same amount of time. And so it's obviously challenging, but I think that we've done a really nice job in the results that we have put out there, and yesterday, obviously, but nonetheless, it was a lot of work.
Yeah. When you look at, and to look at that side too, obviously, but now that you've been here a teeny bit, but getting to talk to the players, like you said, coming in and recruiting them. Obviously, a new coaching staff isn't coming in because of winning. Coach Iguano obviously retained. He takes over interim because of what's going on. But the players that you've talked to that are stayed here, how do you guys as a staff re-energize them? But what do you feel that their energy has been with you guys?
Well, again, it's early, but I think at the end of the day, you're selling yourself. It's people. You know what? Hey, man, like I'm in this business because of what college football, what the game of football has done for me. And I'm just a good dude that likes to play, like to coach football. And I know it helped me become a better man. And, when I went through some tough times in my life, and I lost my father at just as I was getting into adulthood, that struck me hard. And you know what? It was obviously I was raised by two good parents, but it was also the lessons of the game of football that helped me navigate to where I am today. And, you got to go pay it back, and I think when you get into people and you dig into their souls, man, and they like, this guy's real, you know what I mean? Like this guy's going to help me, because that's all it really is about is everybody runs power, schemes are schemes, 3-4 down, odd stack, cover 4, but it's the differences in the players and how you coach them and building into them. And I think, that's what we came in here and we tried to do. And, some guys, no matter how much you pour into them, hey man, I can't be this. I can't handle this change. I got to go do something else. And, that might be the best thing for them. And, I think Justin Wilcox, when I left to Idaho State, I asked him if you could give me one piece of advice that when you took over at Cal, what would it be? And he said, the guys that don't want to be there, don't beg them to stay. And, I thought that was pretty profound. Like, you want guys that want to be, as Coach Dillingham says, all in.
Right.
And, as my good friend Tony Tabor says, you can't be a little bit pregnant. You either are or you're not, right? Very simple.
Man, you say that all the time.
Yeah, very simple. And so it's, hey, man, all in. And you gotta have guys that are all in.
To that point too, because and even Coach Bonds was saying a lot of times, obviously a new head coach comes in, wants to, you're gonna clear everything out, but to retain Coach Iguano, obviously he takes over as interim. Like I said, you're not winning when an interim coach takes over. Mm-hmm. But the energy that he kept with the team last year to keep it up, yes, didn't result in a lot of wins, but to have him back on staff, what did that mean to you guys?
Well, I think first and foremost, people are like judging Sean on every game that he coached, whether he went. I mean, the talent, you lost Eastern Michigan. He's not a magician, right? But what he did is provide structure and organization to the program. Sean Iguano is a really, really good football coach. He's a better human being. You know what I mean? And that's why he's on this staff, and he's going to help us, grow this program. And so just having him back, I think we're better as a program, having him a part of this thing.
And then obviously you've been a head coach, but head coach a lot of times is more delegating. Yes, your thumbprints on a lot of things, but it's delegating. But to come back now in this aspect, and yes, being assistant head coach, coordinating the special teams, what are some of the things you've taken? I mean, I know you mentioned Coach Wilcox, but from other coaches that have worked and that have brought you to this point?
I think, Dirk Cutter said something to me a long time ago. I'm a better assistant coach now that I've been a head coach. And I didn't understand that at the time because I'd never been a head coach, and been a head coach, high school, college now, like, you know that when you're in that captain's chair, a lot of the things that are going on are non-football related, as you just mentioned. And so that means that I've got to do more on my end as an assistant to alleviate any kind of crap that would be on your desk from my players. You know what? So the little things, organization, the discipline, all that stuff, I got to handle my guys. And the last thing I want is to have to put another task on Coach Dillingham's desk, because I know he's got enough stuff to do. And I think when you understand that and you appreciate that, you become a really, really good assistant coach.
And then I mentioned special teams because it is the X factor. People only want to talk about it when something really bad goes wrong, or when guys are setting records. You know, like Devin has to return kicks for touchdowns. What's the energy to coach that and to play that? Because it is a different, of all the positions on the field, that group, it is a different mindset.
100%. I think first and foremost, you have to sell the young men on the team to play special teams. Nobody shows up to ASU saying, I'm going to be the right guard on the punt team. You know what I mean? Like, so there has to be an art to that, you know, and that's where, you know, I talk about the energy, bringing the juice, the being genuine with the players. And now I have a track record of showing these guys. I can give you Ashton Davis, who nobody wanted to coach at Cal. Didn't think he could play DB. He was coming off his freshman year. He wasn't a very good corner, and nobody really thought anything of him. I see this guy, I say, man, this dude's a tremendous athlete. This guy can kill it on special teams. Starts on the court for me for that year in 2018 or 17, excuse me. By 2018, he's one of the top kick returners in the country. You know, a couple of years later, he's getting drafted in the 3rd round by the Jets. And there's like Jalen Hawkins. I can go down the list. You know, Will Parks at Arizona. I mean, like, there's a bunch of them. You know, and so you know, I tell the kids, man, you like money? Who likes money? Well, you want to make your money, man. You know, what is it, like 80% of NFL money is spent on 20% of the players on the roster.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if you're going to stick and stay in the NFL, you got to be able to play special teams. Yeah. Well, I can help you do that, and I can help you do it at a high level. And again, you know, there's a guy, you know, Sean Slocum was here for a long time. A hell of a coach, in my opinion. You know, I got tremendous respect for him. He has NFL experience. We're going to just try and continue to keep that bar high and raise it.
Cool. Well, thank you, sir.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, it was great seeing you. Having a good Christmas.
You too,
Tell
man.
the family. Well, that was my sit down with Charlie Ragle, assistant head coach. And I love what he said real quick about Justin Wilcox before we get out of here, saying, if somebody doesn't want to be there, don't beg them to stay. And it's tough because you brought, especially player-wise, you brought them in. You figure, okay, they brought him in, but you see their tape, you want him there, and that's tough to do. And talking to, like, just hearing Coach Ragle say that definitely resonated. But yeah, you can just see, I mean, the passion, the fire. Again, saw it with Coach Dillingham. I've known Coach Ragle for years, and yeah, that passion and fire is there and directing that energy. So hey, thanks for joining me here on Pac-12 Preview here on the Sideline Sports Network. Yes, Michael Caratino at Diablo00. Hit me up on Twitter. We will get to the Cotton Bowl and Rose Bowl on Monday. I will be back. So yes, everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the bowl game. Go check out UCLA playing. Go check out UCLA playing Pitt in the Sun Bowl and enjoy. So yes, I will see you guys Friday, same bat time, same bat channel, as we will be back here on Monday. Sorry, Monday. Today's Friday. On Monday for Pac-12 review. So for everybody at Sideline Sports, shout out to my boy Eric Wilson. Thank you for the Christmas present, Eric, by the way, of the Cowboys. Well, they won last night, but beating the Eagles on Christmas Eve in Dallas. It was a beautiful thing. Not sad. Thanks for the Christmas present, Eric. But we're going to get out of here. I'll see you on Monday. And as always, forks up.